So first of all, thank you very much for attending this event. Without your participations, we will not be able to continue our project into third episode. So please let us grant our appreciation to your participation. So the Innovation for Democracy Café is a project that's started by Nakhon Foundation this year. This program aims to discover all kinds of innovative ideas to foster democracy and human rights. So we have previous launched 2 episodes, and we receive a lot of meaningful and inspiring feedback. So this episode, we are going to talk about how do we use technology to help people to exercise their right to monitor and examine what the government has been doing. For people who live in democracies, it sounds easy that everyone has the right to examine and monitor what the government has been doing. But in fact, that is not easy for everybody. For example, some people might be afraid of being monitored once they report something illegal to the government. And also, even they have the courage to report wrongdoing to the government. They will be worried about the government might request them to provide more information or more data that they are not able to provide. So that's the questions everybody faces. But we found that the activists and advocates in Taiwan and Thailand are using technology to tackle these issues and has bring a lot of help. So here we invite 2 advocates in Taiwan and Thailand. The first one is Mr. Thitiphong Luangaroonlerd, the CEO from Boonmee Lab. He is from Thailand, and he's going to introduce his project, which is called Hacknapphone. It is a live bot that allows every user, they just need to take pictures, then they can report every kinds of problems that they encounter in the city, such as breakdowns of bus stations, the suspensions of water supplies. And everyone just need to take a picture, then send the picture back to the bot. Then it can help you to reflect the problems to the city government. And also they designed a gamification mechanism that makes this process fun and easy for everyone. So the reason why they can manage to do this is because Peii, the founder, has abundant knowledge and experience of information architectures, data visualization, UX and UI design. And most important of all, he embraces human-centric design as his core value. So that's why he can make this project happen. So we are very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next one, next guest will be Ms. Peii Lai from Citizen of Earth, Taiwan. Hello, Peii. She and her team developed a project called the Disfactory project and Spot Disfactory. The 2 projects allow everybody to upload pictures, then they can report illegal factories in farming land. And after the project was presented, they also found they need everybody's help, particularly everyone's eyes, to help them to identify the real illegal factories in farming land. So they developed another project called Spot Disfactory, which is again that everybody can just use their fingers and clicks to help them to identify the illegal extension part of the factory. So Peii and her team believes that the environmental protections and developments are not in the zero-sum game. And the most important thing is that we managed to build out the solution to control pollution and restore the order of land utilization. Our pleasure to have you here, Peii.
Thank you.
All right, so please allow me to brief you the process, the agenda today for a few seconds, then we will start hearing their brilliant stories. Later, our 2 guests will present you their stories for 15 minutes each. And following that, I will have a discussions with them to discover more interesting points and perspectives for the audience. And finally, we will receive questions from audience. So if you have questions, please type your questions in the chat box or in the Q&A board. I will read them and guide our panelists to answer your questions. Okay. So now, without further ado, we will invite Thitiphong to present his project with us.
Okay, thank you, Ya-wei, and everyone here. So, such a pleasure to join this session and share my knowledge about my project. So, I want to start with why do I start this project? So, our project is called Hack Nakhon. In Thai, hack, you guys know hack in English, and Nakhon in Thai means city. So, Hack Nakhon is like hack the city and stuff like that. So, we actually experience, or we have seen like apps or website or service from the city that they allow you to report this and that. Maybe you call them, maybe you send a picture and stuff like that. It's fine, it works, but it is only works for a group of people who are very, very active. Like you're gonna find out that maybe 1/10 of your friends are active enough to tell the city what's going on or what's wrong. So we started with the research about start with the question, how can we let people engage with the public participatory approach to make the city better in a way that they don't feel that they need to do it for the city, they need to like change the world or anything. What if they can just have fun? What if they can just do it every day? And maybe they get some sort of like maybe digital reward or something that we always get from other kind of apps. So we come up with the hypothesis that what if we put the gamification in the apps or in the experience that will allow people to join the reporting to the city or even what else that's available. Maybe it will be more engaging, and it will be more fun for the citizen. So let me share you like some of the slides. I think it's a slide that we use for teaching to our stakeholder and our donors. This is like story that I didn't make it in English, but I can explain to you guys. So the word hackathon in Thai means that we can change Bangkok by playing with this virtual digital city, and we can also help make it better, right? So you can see the look of the app is not boring. It's not government app. It is actually from the citizen for the citizen. So Nakhon, what are they doing, right? So basically, we are not like building apps, but we are actually taking advantage of the Line app, which is actually popular in Taiwan as well. We build the application on top of Line, and because Thai people are really, really addicted to Line, they use it all the time. So we put application inside, and people can just send in information, like put in categories, and then submit it. And at the end, they got the point, right? They got like reward. So in our beta test right now, we are focusing on 6 different categories. The first one is the public transportation. The second one is the walkway. The third one is environment. The fourth one is road and traffic, and also other facility, and also like infrastructure. Right? This is the 6 main topics that we focus, and we gamify it by our team writing the algorithm and the logic to actually give people rewards when they put in action in the apps. So at the end of the day, it is not just, if you compare it with whatever existing apps that you can report to the city and stuff like that, it is very serious. It is more about, okay, I already sent this information. When are you gonna come fix it? Like how well are you gonna fix it? How fast? But for this one, we understand that the point of this app is not just about tell the city to fix something, but it is actually want to gather more information, because the more information we have actually help better rushing the government official to fix it. It's more like a social pressure, some sort of whatever popular problem on the internet is highly likely gonna get fixed more than whatever problem that nobody knows, right? So this platform is more about how can we make people engaged every day and get the most information by not promising that everything will get fixed, but we will actually rank it out. Maybe we have top 10, top 20, and the apps actually work together with the government to actually see what they should prioritize. And the reward for the citizen is actually they can build their own virtual city inside the app based on the location that they are in. And we have some sort of items that they can, if you engage more, you can have different kind of city, you can have different kind of items that, give you some sort of reward. It sounds like, oh, this kind of digital reward is it really people really gonna do it or something? But we see so many examples in games that, maybe you just want to have, dress up your avatar or dress up your building or your place and stuff like that. There's nothing about something get fixed, or it's nothing about you get paid, but you keep doing it, you keep building it for something. That is what we are trying to build here, so that we don't need to stick with whatever get fixed in the city. But at the end, actually we know that, if we get to the critical mass, this information will be very, very useful for the city. The problem is of the city in Bangkok, right? In Bangkok, for example, we have this kind of app and it's very good. But like I said, it's only work for a group of people that is already very active. And it's easy to say that it is very small portion of the whole population. So the hackathon is actually want to focus on the rest of them. The younger people who actually, want to play, or even old people who actually use Line more than young people right now. They might be able to get engaged in maybe different games, and we can put together these two sort of data and actually help change the city to the better way. This is sort of this leader dashboard that when you engage with this, you can see how much you get. It's kind of XP and stuff like that. And we are thinking about that. If you're at the leaderboard, I'm not sure you have experienced the Foursquare. Once in the 90s, 2000, we have the app called Foursquare, and you get higher score if you check in a lot, right? So this is kind of the same thing that we want to build up ownership. Maybe we have different area in Bangkok. We have different kind of mayor. We also thinking about this, the leader in each of the area. We can set up the meeting with the mayor of Bangkok. They have the prestige, they have the premium that they can actually go see the high official and tell them what's the problem. We reward them by if you are the leader, you can get even more to engage with the city. So this is for example, the type of things that people can engage with the platform. They post sort of walkway, traffic, or the sound, stuff like that at different times. So right now we are available in the beta test. You can also add this line and then try it out, but it's in Thai, so hopefully that you guys can understand. Okay. So that is my presentation. Okay. Hope you guys understand what it is.
I think I understand clearly, and then I really enjoy it. Thank you very much. I really like the idea of you're not just stick to whether the problems is solved or not, but you have your own strategy that make more people engage to the process and create a pressure to the politicians, then they can really take actions. I think that's a very realistic and very smart strategy. And I really do think that will be this program, this spot can be if a person wants to run the elections in a mayor election, they should talk to you because it's super useful to know how to gain people's support, because with this app, you will really know the need of the people. And I really like you have really clear target audience. You design different mechanisms to make the games fun and interesting to different demographics, even child and even elderly. And I really like the idea. And then I believe people in Taiwan and also around the world will be very expected to know more about the projects and to see what it becomes in the future. Thank you, Vicky. So the next one, you're welcome. The next one, we're going to invite Ms. Peii Lai from the Citizen of Earth, Taiwan, to share with us her stories about Disfactory and Spot Disfactory. The floor is yours, Peii.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Peii and I'm from the organization of Citizen of Earth Taiwan. And we're a non-profit organization and was established in 2007. We advocating in environmental issues in Taiwan. So we do research, policy advocacy, launch campaign to raise awareness. And we don't accept funds or donations from the government and corporations. And since there's tons of the environmental issues here, so therefore we divided into different departments to deal with the issues. As for me, I aim at reducing the illegal factories on the farmland. And my daily task is investigating in what causes could these factories possibly do to our farmland, to our ecosystem, and even to human body. And in today's events, I'm going to share with you about the challenge we're facing and the reason why we turn to the assistant of the open source, the civic tech. So first of all, I like to use this picture to represent the beauty of Taiwan's farmland. This is where I live. It's in the north of Taiwan, a town called Jinshan. And here we grow a lot of different kinds of crops. Here we have water bamboo, sweet potatoes, and rice. Water bamboo look like this. Okay, so this is basically we expect to site in the rural area. However, usually we spot this kind of structures built with iron sheet on our farmland. This scenery is the actual look of the farmland in the west of Taiwan. Like pimples, they occupy the surface of our agricultural area and bringing tremendous risks to our environment. The target we are aimed at, they grow illegally on the agricultural area and they built without any register or building license. The risk we are undertake is they might emitting unbearable stinks, releasing all kinds of pollutant, discharging waste, both solid and liquid. And unlike legitimate ones, these illegal factories, they don't follow the regular fire preparedness, so they lack of facility to prevent and put out a fire. This leads to the high frequency of accidents and damage to the nearby area. We can take a look at the amount they are. Usually I'll let the audience to take a guess, but today I'm going to directly announce the answer. The convenience store in Taiwan is famous for its high density, and also the store which sell bubble milk tea, and so as our temples and shrines. However, the amount of them are far away from the illegal factories. So this is an ongoing and escalating problems that happens on our territories. On average, Taiwan is like losing 1,500 hectares of farmland through the illegal usage per year. It's threatening our crops, our environment, and food self-sufficiency ratio. Without noticing, we're rapidly losing our farmland. And despite all the risks the illegal factories brought us, building this kind of factories is still a profitable business. It basically means passing the cost to the environment. You obtain the means of production in a low price and shirk all your responsibility to the others. And you're basically free from punishment. So people will like, why not? Also, Taiwan is famous for our OEM, means original equipment manufacturer. Those big international corporations outsource the manufacturing process to Taiwan. We'll simply take a look at this video. It basically shows how Taiwan is famous for our manufacturing. Like electroplating, leather industrial, or making toys, name it as you like. There are plenty kinds of the manufacturers on the farmland. It's been considered as the lifeblood of Taiwan's economy. And the factory owners, for saving cost, gaining competitive advantage, would rather run the risk of breaking the law and build the factories on the farmland. In our opinion, yes, the factories sure brings prosperity to the rural area, but they cut both ways, shrinking the rims of the agriculture, interrupting the spatial order. We believe that the good things should happen in the right place, and it is injustice to ask the environment to undertake the risk only for your personal interest. So, as an organization who dedicate in environmental issues, we put a lot of effort in protesting, draw attention to the severeness of all the problems I just mentioned. So eventually, in 2016, the government announced a new policy called zero tolerance for the newly built factories. So they're saying, if you exist more than 10 years, we'll deal with you later. But if you are a newly built factories, we need to tear you down at once. If you're caught, and you should be removed. So it became a catch me if you can problem. Because the municipal government, they don't want to stand on the opposite side to the factory owners. With all those taxes, they're the biggest vested interest. And so the government slowed down their pace, remaining several issues. First, the official reporting process takes a lot of time, and sometimes the case just vanished without any recourse. And also, if you want to report an illegal factory, you need to hand over your personal ID, which put the people in rural area at risk. If the data leaks, which frequently happened, they'll be facing the threats and pressure from the factory owners. So the question becomes, how do we get involved with every single cases that happen all over Taiwan. We've tried some trad and clumsy way. At that time, the day before we start Disfactory, we don't even know, we have no clue with user interface or user experience and so on. We have no idea. We're like a muggle. So we establish an Excel or Google form to collect the data, but it's not efficiency, and the data it seems clumsy, and the people is not the people is not friendly for the people in rural area to use. So then we turn to the assistant to the Gov0 and establish the project of Disfactory. Through the cooperation of Citizen Earth of Taiwan and Gov0, we combine the knowledge we've been piling up through advocacy. And then the Gov0, the member in the Gov0, they provide multiple techniques to help us to save from the problems we're facing. And the multiple techniques brought by the civic contributors, we thought that crowdsourcing might be a good idea to help us to track down those factories hide in the rural area. So as you can see, we're not targeted at open source in the first place, but the situation brought us here. So we start to make a wish. We wish that there's an app or website to assist the people in the rural area to mark the spot, to mark the illegal factories out. And we want that app or website not so difficult. Everyone can use it. And we want it safe and private for the people who use it. So in 2020, we came up with our first product called Disfactory.tw. And how does it work? We simply build up a map where you can manipulate it on site, identify where the target factory is, and you take the picture and you upload the photos. So you target out the factories on the map, and you take the picture on site, and we simply get the information on the back end. And once I receive the infos from the back end, I'll double check the infos to make sure it is really newly built factories. And then I'll file the report, send it to the government. So how's the efficiency, you might ask? At first, the efficiency is so bad. The civil servants just ignore the files we send to them, claiming that they don't have enough human resources to handle this amount of cases. So it took literally thousands of calls to every department, from central government to municipal government. We're trying to sort out the problem. And we even encourage the civil servants we're telling them that you're doing the right things. Don't be afraid, and don't be so scared to do the right things. And after numerous of communications, now they're not only accept our complaints, they even take the initiative to examine the nearby area. And they finally learn that we're not picking on them, we're assisting them to do their work. So from 2020 to 2022, we received 2,300 reports, and we filed 638 files to the government, and caused 64 factories to be suspended. And other outcomes that Ministry of Economic Affairs started to open their data to the public to examine the way the process they are doing to the illegal factories. And the Council of Agriculture started to regulate the demands of electricity. If they found out that you are an illegal factories, they'll cut off your electricity. And according to the Council of Agriculture, in 2022, the expansion area of newly built factories decreased by half compared to last year. So it's surely and great steps, but it's just not enough for us. So we start to make another wish. We want that there's an app or website to assist us to spot newly built factories from aerial photograph. And even people in urban area can participate in. So in this year, we came up with Spot Difference. It's a game-like website, and you can simply use the aerial photograph to choose whether or not there is a structure or farmland, or is there a newly built structures in these pictures. So it basically means you move your fingers and the factories will be out of the game. And you can try this on your cell phones, mobile phones, or your computers. So thanks to Team Disfactory. Without them, there won't be these outcomes. It took us 2 years to get here, but it's not really an end because we're still reviewing all the process. We're still reviewing all the functions of our website and trying to do it better. So for us, this is not a period, it's an comma of it. So thank you for listening, and this is my presentation.
Thank you very much. Hey, I think this is a wonderful presentation. We clearly understand where the problem is and how you come up with this idea to make this project. And I really like the idea of you work with civil servants in the government and telling them that you are here to help, you're not here to pick up any fights. And you provide very practical solutions by providing data. And I really like the idea of similar to Thiti, to gamificate all this process. I myself play the find the different spot Disfactories when I take MRT. It is really fun and it brings me more a sense of accomplishments more than the general scans on my cell phone. I think that is wonderful. And so just like what Peii states, this project is still will be evolved in the future. And I remember there's going to be a gathering this weekend by Gov0B, and Peii seems to be there to share more stories. And they will continue to hold the gathering to make Peii's projects better. And if you want to learn more about all these projects, the projects of Thiti and projects of Peii, please feel free to write an email to the Kinaman Foundation. We're happy to share more information with you. Okay, so after hearing all of your wonderful presentation, I will have some questions for you to make our audience to understand your ideas better. So I would like to have a question for Thiti first. I think it's your project makes citizens feel it's easy and interesting to participate in the process of examine what the government has been doing, whether the government really do a good job on city governance. So I was wondering, you just mentioned that your strategy is to create the opportunities enhance the volume of a province of the city to produce some pressure to make those politicians or leaders of the city government to really care, to really discover there are really problems happens in these cities. But aside from that, have you ever think about any strategy or methods to bring people in the city government, civil servants, or city mayors to work together with you by maybe the way of cooperations, or maybe incentivize them to cooperate together?
Yeah, sure. So actually, before, like, we have the other different kind of projects that we do, and we already did some of the project that we work together with the government official, and it's fine. I mean, that's what we also make impact in that part, but we also know that, learning from working with a government official is not ideal. It might take you too long, maybe people change, like by politics. Let's say the leader got elected, and then, at the end of his office, it changed. Like the thing that you already agree with this guy all gone, and you have to do it again. Or the officer has changed and he got promoted to a different department or whatever agreement is gonna be, like, you have to start over. It is not, big as the law and stuff like that. So, but we did in another project. So for this project, we really want to protect it because we know the positive, the advantage of working with the official and disadvantage. So in this project, we want to test it out. Like, what if we are working with, like, let's say the mindset is customer centric, citizen centric, and we don't need to worry about the government yet, because whenever we worry about that, it makes us feel not so fun. Like you kind of think of like bureaucracy, how you're gonna get this guy to talk to us, how you're gonna blah 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 blah. It's not fun. So this project, like I said, it's more like, oh, what if we put game in there? Will people engage? That's just it. Like that's just it. So if it works, then it should give us a lot of information. When we have a lot of information, then everyone wanna work with us. That's the point. So just a different approach to work with the city. So I don't know yet. But I don't want to start with working with the government yet.
Thank you very much for your sharing. I think that's but it's still good to hear that you have many strategies of engage with governments, because yes, there's always the existence of bureaucracy. There's always existence of political party alternations. That's always the problem, but it's always good to hear that our advocates always have a strategy to tackle that and make things move forward. Thank you very much, Phoebe. And following the question to Phoebe, I have a question to Peii. I'm happy to hear that your project managed to not only really report some illegal factories, but also make the civil servants understand what you have been doing is actually to helping them to making progress on their works. Can you please share a little bit more about how your partnership with the civil servants and perhaps any kinds of long-term goals or long-term progress that has already achieved? For example, you mentioned they probably learn dealing processing with the data, having a strategy of how to processing data can be helpful for their work, or cooperate or learn from NGOs can also help to their work. Can you please share with us?
Okay, so first to talk about communicate with the government. It's quite a challenge for us too, because in the old days, in the past, we don't sit down and communicate with the government. We supervise them, and we're like pointing out the problems, but not co-work with the government on solving the problem. So it's kind of new to us too. And we can communicate with the government evenly only because we own the hard evidence, which comes directly from the whistleblowers, the people from the rural area, like equipped with the full recognition of their neighborhood. So they can tell us where the illegal factories are newly built, who built them, or what to build for. They're with all the knowledge to it, like they know all of the things that happens there. So as from the beginnings, I said no one knows the accurate amount or the accurate location where the illegal factories will be built. And with the help with the peoples in the rural area, we can learn that the cases is happening. And the central government they only know a ballpark figure. And the municipal government, they only hold the partial truth. And they only care for their own dominant area. So we can go on and talk about where is the surveillance place? Where should be put effort to remove the illegal factories? And we can go on to talk about the budget that managing these issues would be, or how many manual labors are required to deal with the illegal factories. So it's all really thanks to the people who report the cases to us. So we can take that as and hard evidence to communicate evenly with the government.
Thank you, Peii. I think your answers clearly point out that data is the key that to help us to no matter to point out what the government has done wrong or how we wish the government to do to fulfill our demands. And I'm also happy to learn that from through your actions, you and the government can work out clearly what we are going to put our efforts into. For example, we just mentioned budget and how much human cost we need and what the data we need. I think that's a very positive outcomes of this project. Yeah. So well, back to Zizi, I have a questions for you about how do you include people's idea in your design. I think you are already an expert of UI and UX, so you definitely know it very well because your project is about how to demonstrate, how to present the problems that people encounter in the city. So I would like to know in the process of making hackathon, how do you bring people's idea, people's need, or let's say a user's experience into your project to make your project really reflect the needs of them and make them feel it's really interesting and fun?
There are 2-3 different points that we're focusing on. So the first one is actually the constraint, because this app is actually we build online app. So on one hand, we expect that people who are already familiar with Line will be familiar with our app too. But it's also, on the other hand, it is a constraint that we need to follow. So there's limitation and stuff like that, or the API limitation. Those are the thing that we need to take into account. But it's not a problem. Basically, it's just like to understand what was going on on their hands these days and for a different kind of demographic. The thing is, we don't need to test out like, is Line gonna work with like old people or is Line going to work with like young people? No, everyone is using it. So we kind of can guess or like cut those questions out and focus on other things. So that is one point that we choose. And the second one is, of course, it's about like how can we make the UX and the UI easy to use. So basically, we just make it as simple as possible. Make the button big, make the words clear, make the interaction as minimal as possible. That is what we have to focus on, like cut everything that is not related or is not needed in the apps. The third point is actually this is a gamification, so it's not just like making things look like Apple product, it doesn't have to be like white and gray and looks really peaceful. It's a game. So also the third point is how can we make it so like adorable? How can we make it so attractive that people will open their heart and join this movement together? But this third point is the one that is the most difficult because everyone's life, everyone's style, everyone's taste is totally different. So we just have to go with the one that our team are familiar with or comfortable and just go with it. Like I mentioned before, this project is still in the prototype phase and in the testing phase. So we are not actually confirm everything by ourselves. So we are on the phase that, hey, we're going to make this prototype and then we're going to go try with this, like university students. Like, do they like it? How can they use it? We're going to go try with like adults or young people, like, do they like it or not? Do they engage? And then we're going to adapt it. That is just the point. But we're not going to do this prototype forever. We have the timeline, the deadline. So at some point, we just go as close as possible. We reduce all the risk as much as possible, and then we just launch it. And I think, like Peii, like making a software, making an application, there's no ending. So there's no like we submit the project and then like, oh, bye, I'm just gonna do a next one. No, it's gonna be a long term. So yeah, we don't rush the project to be like perfect yet. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing out. I really like you have really clear strategy of what your users are and what kind of habits they have. And I think that's very important also for democracy itself. We often talk with our colleagues that in those moments of democracy backsliding, we really need someone like the UI or UX designer for democracy to make people really feel that everything about public participation is easy and fun, and it's something that everybody should and are able to participate in. And it shouldn't be like everybody has to go through a very difficult paperwork or very difficult words to understand. It shouldn't be like that. And I really like your approach. Well, thank you for your sharing. And following these questions, I also have a question for Peii. I think it's really wonderful and courageous that you and your team try the new methods to particularly crowd sourcing the works of identifying data and images. I think that really takes some courage to try out these new methods because you can also foresee some risk and pressures if you try out this new method. But I really want to know, after your organization decide to try, let's involve everybody, let's invite all the citizens to collaborate with us together. After this, what lesson do you learn? We already know that there were many more cases being reported. That's a very visible and important achievement. But in the bigger pictures, what you and your team member learned after you decide to try this crowdsourcing method?
Okay, so as for a longer picture, we want that the open source and it can be happens not only because of us. We want that maybe it can happen generated by the government maybe one day, and maybe from the change of their attitude, maybe one day they will know that preventing the personal data from the reporters are important, or revealing the data of the illegal factories are important. That will be a long-term outcome that we are happy to see. And as for the lessons I'm learning from joining the project of Disfactory is that don't limit myself to be open-minded to new ideas, new concepts, and new tools and new strategies. But as Ya-wei said, there should be risks, and don't be afraid to take that risk. Because I learned a lot from the engineers. They can generate like thousands of solutions to only one question, and they're eager and they're passionate to solving problems really inspire me. Like the first questions I'm answering, for a long time the NGO and the government are like enemies. Like we're the opposite side of each other. We see them as like lazy and greedy and don't want to solve the problems. But we never thought maybe one day we will co-solving the problems together. So this is something I learned a lot from the project. Because in the old days we know how to fight against the government, but we don't know how to get ourselves involved to managing the problems ourselves. So it's quite a new thing to us, also to the government too, I suppose. And another thing about the team members I learned from them is they don't consider the product as their own accomplishment. They value the teamwork and they value the open source, the spirits of open source. They value it because they wanted to reach out for solving more and more problems. It's what I really admire this characteristics from them.
Thank you, Peii. I really like your answers because your answers shows that your project is not only fulfill your goals of tackling illegal factories in the farming lands. Your projects also lead the civil societies and the government and the people, everybody to go one step forward together. And I think that's really what I really think is very precious for a young democracy, and I think that's really something worth sharing. And also, like you mentioned about the culture of open source. In Taiwan, we are lucky to have this civic tech community, not just GovZero, but also many civic tech engineers. They're really generous to share everything they know about technology, and they have the passions and also the patience to work with people without technology backgrounds, and they plus create a lot of great projects that foster Taiwan's democracy. And I think this is really something that we would like to bring about. Yeah. So I have one more question for Thiti. I think I imagine if you really tease out the hackathon one day, and you will receive huge amounts of photos, huge amounts of data a day. So how do you plan to process these giant amounts of photos or data systematically and turn it into a very useful information or data that can push for more improvements in the governments?
I don't get the question. I mean, like, you mean like if I get a lot of information, like it will be useful?
Because I imagine you will receive a lot of photos. Because once it's out and everybody use it and think it's very good product, and everybody use it, then you will receive a lot of photos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And after receive these photos, how you plan to process these photos? I mean, it couldn't be something like, okay, I got one photos. There is a problems about the breakdown of bus station. Then I report it to the government. Then that's the end of story. It maybe like that, or you have other plan to make all this giant amounts of photos, giant amounts of data becoming something more useful.
I think it's a kind of like good problem. You can say it's like a successful problem. So when you get not just image, right? So you got a lot of images, like even Disfactory, like got a lot of images, you got a lot of text, you got a lot of location, you got a lot of blah blah blah. It's a problem that when the system scale up to that point, it will be worthwhile enough to think about what to do with it. So there's so many different directions that we can do with those kind of information. It's just not a problem right now, right? So, but to talk about what can we do, I mean, that's the quick, easy one is that at least just a database for the city, that's already useful because we cannot really rely on what kind of practice the government or the city is doing in terms of collecting the data. And most of the government in Thailand, they are really low tech, and also they don't have their own IT team or their cloud team or blah blah blah. If this hackathon is successful, it can actually become a sustainable way of the city to sustain the information because it's not rely on the political plurality. It's not depend on any department or anything. It just depends on the citizen and the organization. So if the organization still exists and still free from the influence of the politics, so it's actually going to stay longer than the mayor. So at some point, this data will be actually very crucial. Give you an example that when, let's say, the current mayor of any city, right? He's maybe like in the office right now, but when he stepped down, maybe the new one, they changed the policy, they changed the way, they pick the new software, they pick the new cloud, they pick the new database. And what about the past? So what about those information that you gather like for 3 or 4 years? It's gonna be gone, or it will be at someone's office that nobody can access. So on the other hand, for Hackathon and Disfactory, it's like independent organization that actually we will stay longer. If we can sustain enough donation and stuff like that, it will stay longer than the government. So, and we can find out like how we can do with those data so many ways. Like you're gonna go like AI, you're gonna go prediction, you're gonna do blah blah blah, anything we can do with that. Yeah. That's my answer.
Thank you. I like you point out both organizations of yours will be will exist longer than the governments and exist longer than the politicians now under their positions. And I think it's really important to keep those data, because you keep those data and you keep the memories of the cities, and it definitely helps to produce more sustainable and more practical policies, no matter to city governance or environmental protection. Okay. So I also have a question for Peii. I think I really like the idea of the gamification of spotting this illegal factory in the farming land. And I imagine there must be tons of work to compile and structure all of those aerial photographs to make them structured and presented in the web page we saw, and enables everybody can just click and identify the illegal factories. So I would like to know how you and your team manage to compile or categorize these tremendous amounts of photos and make it something that every citizen can easily work together.
Okay, so yes, it's really a huge process, and I can share with you with my screen. We're coming up with this idea like when we're gathering in the meeting and talk about why can't we see the difference, like using different colors to mark out the illegal factories from the aerial photos. It will be quicker and more efficiency and more with system. And then when we started to get on this product, we found out that our government already have similar process with it. And it's on the left of my screen, the left picture. So we've got similar process to track down the factories, but except for we put the need of getting everyone involved in the priority to make it. So we basically pack up the government's data to a game-like website and make people to participate in the game, through the game. And as for the government's process, they process it very slow, and we don't know if it is accurate or it's not examinable. We can examine from they don't open their data for the public. So I think using this game-like website, using our spot difference should give them some pressure to open their data to the public and make the data more available and more friendly and more examinable to the public. We meet with the Disfactory every Wednesday, and so this 2 years is a long process for us to improve every little details of our website and our this game-like website, both Disfactory.tw and Spot Difference. So first, we came up with the needs, right? The needs is very clear and needy. So, and then the engineers or the designers or the group members, they came up with numerous of solutions to help us with the to came up with the Disfactory.tw and Spot Difference. So it's really a long process, and it lasts for 2 years. and every Wednesday. So we improve it little by little for these 2 years. Thanks.
Thank you, Peii. Yeah, I believe it must be a long process to gather, to clean and make the data structured. It definitely takes a lot of work, not just clear up the data. It also takes the time to decide and plan how we're gonna make these data look like. And I really appreciate you and your team's efforts. And happy to hear that you sort of set that example to the government, showing that so this is how data can be applied. This is how data should be demonstrated. There's a lot of things that we can still improve. I think that's definitely a very good contribution that this factory brings to the government. Yeah. So thank you for all your answers. And now we're going to take the questions from our audience. So now we have a question from Anna. She asked, it's a question for Didi. Your project sounds very interesting. I'm wondering about the issue of data protections. Are people in Bangkok free to report any issue, or are there some issues where people are more hesitant? Has there ever been any kinds of backlash? Someone who reported got into trouble, as whistleblowers often do? Okay, so Didi, can you please answer this question?
Yes. So answering this question is actually one of the good point that people are not engaged with these kind of things yet. Like I mentioned before, that there's only specific group of people who actually actively engage or report to the city. Always going to be the same group of people who actually, it's not that they don't care about their privacy or anything, but they maybe even know more about that the government cannot actually doing bad things to them. So they're fully engaged. They feel like this is the right of the citizen that they can engage. But most of the people who actually I would say that majority of the people have this kind of hesitation that, what if blah blah blah, what if blah blah blah. That is why we want to actually develop an alternative way that doesn't feel like it is invasive as much as the government channel. Because the government channel, you need to input your national ID, you need to input your blah 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 blah, right? But for this one, you just have line. And in order for them to get to you, actually they have to go to line and then ask for permission to access to your account, to actually find out who are you, or they might be able to go to the a harder way to actually just dig it up by your IP, which they can do it anyway. In any way, they can just go to your computer and find out where are you. But yeah, it's the thing is, I don't think this issue is what I'm worried right now for the system. But if it is related to some sort of activity that it is clearly opposite of the government, that will be the case, right? Like, for example, instead of reporting about the trash in front of your house, now it is about the scandal of one politician. That is going to be a big problem. I would consider it as a good problem as well, because that means people use your platform to do something and find out how to deal with it, and when it happens. But the thing is, because this app is based online, so actually I don't know who is that guy. It's just a Line account, and in Thai people, they don't use real name on the Line account. So now it is more about, do Line actually have a good policy in terms of data protection? Then you need to ask a big question to this corporation, not just these small apps, right? That's why, like Ya-wei, you use WebEx, you said you don't want to use Facebook for example, like it's those kind of things. So what about Line? And you guys are using Line, so we need to ask those hard questions to the corporation. I hope it answers.
Thank you for pointing out. We all of us should always be aware of the products, the digital products that we are using. But others, they all of them say that they provide the policy, the data protection policy on their website. But sometimes we are not able to really examine they really follow it. So it's always necessary to supervise not just governments, but also those big corporates who manufacture these digital projects. But I think it's still beneficial that both of you bring down all both projects, because I think it's still very important that both of your organization and projects are serving as a third person, standing in the middle between people and the government. So the people will not worry even they report something, some problems of the government or illegal factories, they were directly monitored by the government. So I think it's still very valuable to have these two projects, because as for me, I feel much more relief if I report illegal factory to citizens of Earth rather than report directly to the government, because I believe, because I didn't have to present my own ID to the government. I just need to click, then the citizen of Earth will help me to verify and help me to report to the government. And same as Nakhon, I just need to upload photos, and the staff of Nakhon will help me to figure out how to make my province being reflected being told to the government. So I think it's still very, the two projects are still very precious projects. Yeah. So Anna wants to make the similar question to Peii as well. I think Peii, maybe you can elaborate. I saw there's data protection policy on your website already. Maybe you can introduce it. And I remember you also mentioned that if a single individual citizens, if they want to report a pollution to the government, they also need to show their ID as well, right? So this is somehow reduce the problems of leaking their self identity. But maybe you want to elaborate the data protection policy of Disfactory website.
Okay, sure. First, yes, you need to fill in with your personal ID when you want to report the illegal factories on the foreign land or any pollutions to the government. And that's why people are not unhappy when building and unsecure when building their personal ID, because it do happens when the government or the civil servants leak their data to the factory owners or just reveal the data. So first we came to Gov0. We talk about this issue. So we put this issue basically our first priority when doing the project of this factory, .tw. And so you can feel free to fill in or not. If you want to connect with us, you can fill in your personal ID, but you can choose not to fill in anything, and we won't leak out the data for any reason. And second, all the files we send to the government are in our name, so the government will only see citizen of Earth, Taiwan. They won't see any information from the reporter from the people who report the factories. And however, there are still some clues from the pictures they provide. So if the pictures reveal some of the personal characteristics, or the picture will reveal the person's identity, they will ask us to withdraw the informations from the website. And there is still some other backlash resulting from the reports. Like, we want to decrease the backlash because we know that some of the factories existing there for a really long time and combined with the rural areas economy. So the target the finger we are pointing at is the newly built. So we're trying to decrease the backlash by pointing the finger to the newly built factories and trying to avoid the controversial part. And also, there is a side effect that when we gain our reputation, because that some of the municipal government will only take our reports seriously, but still treat the civic in bad attitude. So for the past few months, we are trying to communicate with the municipal government that they should treat both of our case and the case from the public in the same attitude and evenly. That's a backlash that we've been working on. Hoping I'll answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Peii. I think I understand all those questions. I think your answers fully answer those questions. So there's another question for Peii as well. The question is by Anna. She'd like to know, why were the factories only suspended after your reports, and why were they not removed before this the Disfactory project was established?
Okay, so this although the laws and the government announced that there's zero tolerance to the newly built factories, but that over the past few years, none of the factories have been punished, have been fined by the government. And people will see it as a common sense that the government will indulge in this kind of the illegal cases. So I think it's step by step, and trying to remove the illegal factories are a huge process. And so from where we're always talking like these issues, we make it from the minus point to like 20 points. It's a really slow really slow improvement, but we are still working, putting our effort in it. And the reason why removing illegal factories are so hard is that it is the factory owner's responsibility to tear down the factories himself or herself. But the factory owners usually don't do that and try to push their responsibility to the municipal government. But the municipal government, like also don't want this burden. Don't want to manage the budget to remove it and suddenly don't want to use their own money to do this. So although the files was written that this factory should be removed, but we all know that it will still stuck on the farmland for the next 10 years maybe. So it is still a huge space for us to accomplish. But for right now, we can make it be suspended and cut off the electricity and water. It's what so far we've got.
Thank you, Peii. I think you explained clearly why illegal factories in Taiwan is it's a problem that exists for a very, very long time. And although there's a law already there, but it really depends on the attitude and determinations of our city government, and also requires the efforts of our civil society. And I'm happy that this shows how important your project is, I believe. Yeah. And I think because there's no questions from the audience, I think I have one final question to both of you. So finally, I would like to ask. So I perceive Disfactory is a website, and Nakhon is a line bot. So we can, although it's a product that was produced by both the works of engineers and the civil society, I still think it's also a kind of, broadly speaking, a technical product. So from your experience of creating these two projects, what we can do to enhance people's participation in the creation of technology. For example, in the process of making these two projects, CD is a UX expert, so you know how to make this product meet the people's needs. For Peii, you are a NGO workers, you know exactly how the NGO needs, how the users what kind of issues that you want to solve by using technology. So from all your experience, what we can do to enhance people's participation when we want to create a technology product. It could be a website, or it could be a digital service app provided by the government. How do we encourage people to participate in this process, and not making it something like just the business of engineers, just the business of somebody can write the code. I think we can start from Didi.
So I think it's a good point. So basically, you should go back to ask, like, whoever the listener right now, that why do you make this? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, it's gonna be a website, it's gonna be an app, but does it really going to change something? Do people really need it? This is basically kind of like a product market fit kind of thing that you can make a very innovative solution that nobody use or nobody care. How can you test it beforehand? How can you know that it is actually fixing a real problem before you even start making something? How can you reduce those risks? How can you validate whatever constraint that will make you like be far away from what people really need? I think that is a first question. I think so. I think there are so many apps, and mostly from the government, that they build, they launch, and nobody use, and it's such a waste of the resources and budget. But most of I would say that most of those bad example is based on the leader or people in the position think they want to do this and that. But it's not about how people really want this product or not. How people really in need, or how people really feel engaged that they need to change. They need to point out where the bad factories are. How does it affect their life? So just to answer Ya-wei and everyone is that go back and ask yourself why you're doing this. If it's not really strong, if it's really just by your passion or stuff like that, it has higher risk of launching it and nobody's gonna use it.
Thank you, Fifi, for providing this very, I would say, professional answer from a professional UX and UI professional. Well, how about you, Peii? How do you think about this question?
Okay, I'm really vibe with his answers, and I think that what I want to say is that participate in public issue isn't that hard, and using tools and using the civic tech is it's like don't limit yourself again, and I participate in this project at first as a tech muggle. I don't know anything. I don't know any concept about the technology, but it's fine because the people who participate in this group are so generous to share with their idea. So if only you want to solve the problems, or you have any idea with these issues, you can participate in. No matter you are good at front end, back end, or you're a designer, or only you want to join, you want to speak up something, you can join in. I think for the past 2 years, I've been receiving this kind of vibe with it. And I also want to show you a picture with, there's an elementary school's teacher who saw the spot difference on the internet, and then immediately she asked the students of her in the class to participate in. And so I think that participate really isn't that hard, and it's all age you can get involved with it. You just need to don't be afraid to speak up your idea, and have eager and passionate to co-work to solving problems together. Yes, and that's what I want to share with you guys.
Thank you, Peii. I think that's really an encouraging answer, and I really like the photo you show that everybody, the elementary schools teachers use the projects you developed to invite his students to tackle those illegal factory together. I think it also, we have to thank the member of civic tech community. They help to make this happen. So these teachers and kids can sit in the classrooms to learn how to monitor these illegal factories, and also make their contribution with a very easy way. So yeah, I think thank all of you for sharing these inspiring project and story with us. I think all of us learned really, really a lot from you. And I sincerely wish the project of Fifi can launch successfully. And I hope you get a lot of users at the beginning day of the launching day of the hackathon. And my best wishes to Peii for the Disfactory and a spot difference. Again, thousands of users and making the illegal factory disappear completely in Taiwan. Okay, thank you very much, and hope that we can share ideas with each other soon in the future. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and thank you all for your participation. We hope to see you in the next episode of Innovation for Democracy Café. Goodbye.